Hi guys! So this is going to be our last video about writing an equation in slope-intercept form. In this video, I'm going to give you an equation that has already been written, but it's not going to be in slope-intercept form. And so our job is going to be to change it into slope-intercept form. Let's do a couple examples. Here is my first example, where I've already written out an equation, 2y minus 6 equals 3x. And I want to change it into slope-intercept form. So as a reminder, slope-intercept form should have the y all by itself. We should have a number in front of our x and another number being added or subtracted after our x. So once I can get it to look like this, then I'll know that I'm done. When you're changing an equation into slope-intercept form, your goal is to get the letter y to be all by itself. So you want to move any numbers, any symbols that are on the side of the equation where the y is, you want to move them to the other side. In this problem, with my letter y, I have a number 2 that's being multiplied, and I have a number 6 that's being subtracted. So I'll need to take both of those and move them to the other side. When given the choice between multiplying and subtracting, you always want to move your subtracting first. So the first thing that I will do on this problem is I will add 6 once on each side of the equal sign. On the left-hand side where I got the 6, those 6's will end up canceling out. On the right-hand side, I cannot add the 3x with the 6 because one of the things has an x and the other one does not. So I will just leave it an adding problem, 3x plus 6. Now, my letter y is not all by itself yet. I do still have a number in front of my letter y, and I will need to get rid of that number before I can say this is my final answer. When a number is right next to a letter, that implies that it's being multiplied. And so to do the opposite of multiplication, we would divide. We've been talking about this. When you do your division, you do need to divide everything by the number 2. So in this problem, I'm going to be dividing in 3 places. I'm going to divide my y and my x and my constant. Now, where the letter y was, those 2's will just cancel. And then you do want to check in the other 2 places to see if you can simplify or if it just completely divides evenly. The 3x over 2, I cannot simplify that, so I'm just going to leave it 3 over 2. Now, I'm going to take the x and I'm going to move it away from the fraction. So I'm going to have the fraction and then next to it the letter x. 6 divided by 2, though, I can simplify that completely. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And so now I have my final answer. My letter y is all by itself. There's no numbers, there's no symbols, there's nothing else over there. And so my final answer is y equals 3 over 2 times x. So we want to put a little space in between those, and then plus 3. Let's do one more example together. Again, here I was given an equation that is not in slope-intercept form. This equation is actually in the very last form that we need to learn about, which is called standard form. So that's what we're going to start learning about tomorrow and on Friday. For right now, though, we just need to make sure that we can get this into slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, again, is y equals mx plus b. Okay. In this problem, on the same side as my letter y, I have an x and I have a -4. Now, the -4 is right next to the letter y, and that means it's being multiplied. So I'm not going to move the -4 right now because it's being multiplied, and that's the last thing that I should move in a problem. Instead, I'm going to move this x. The x is very far away from the y, so I should be able to move it using adding or subtracting. When you want to decide if you should add or subtract, you're going to look in front of the letter or number to see what symbol is there. Since there is no symbol in front of this x, that means that this x is positive, and so to move it, I would subtract it. The minus sign is connected to the number 4. So the 4 is a -4, but the x was not. The x's on the left-hand side will cancel. And just like on our previous problem, I cannot do 18 minus x because the 18 does not have an x with it. I also want to be very careful about what order I put these in. If I look at my slope-intercept form, the x is written first and the number is written second. So when I'm writing my next step, I am going to put my negative x in front of my positive 18. And so it becomes negative 4y. So I just took this and dropped it straight down. And then I put my negative x first and my positive 18 second. To finish up this problem, we will be getting rid of the negative 4 that's right next to the letter y. Since it's right next to it, that means it's being multiplied, and so we will get rid of it by dividing. Now, when you're dividing, you don't want to change the sign of the number. When you're dividing, you're already changing multiplication into division. So I'm going to divide 3 places by the number negative 4. So I've kept the sign of the number. Where the original negative 4 was, that will cancel. That's what always happens. And then we just need to figure out what the other two division problems will turn into. For my letter x, the 4 does need to stay below the fraction bar. And then since there's no number above, I can put a number 1 here. So I'm going to get 1 over 4 for the number in front of x. And then a double negative, that can cancel out to a positive. So it'll turn into positive 1 over 4 space times x. For my other fraction, 18 is not divisible by 4, but we can simplify it. We can divide these both by 2. Okay, so when I divide them both by 2, it'll turn into 9 over 2. And then a positive divided by a negative turns into a negative. So this would be my final answer for this question. Notice that the y is all by itself. All the other numbers and letters are on the other side. And I get 1 over 4 space times x, and then minus 9 over 2. And it's okay to leave them both fractions. This concludes everything we need to know about slope-intercept form.